Hello, everybody. Oi, Alberg here, without Lola, and this is the Doggy Style Podcast episode. I'm going to say 43, but I could be wrong. How's everybody today? We're doing good here, except, of course, my weight, which seems to be a struggle. I'm almost 4 pounds above my goal today. Um, had ice cream over the weekend, had other food I shouldn't have eaten, but I guess it's all part of the process. One of the nice things about the diet I'm on is that you actually can make mistakes. You do have cheat days, and yeah, when you cheat, you see you can pay for it. So I am trying to eat very low carb. So it's a pretty cool day today. I'm going to say 60s, somewhere in the 60s right now, and it's June 11th today. Um, as I get stuck at my first light because I'm not paying attention. Let's see what we got. It says 61, Hicksville, New York. I don't see any rain. 70s. Yeah, so it hasn't been I've been a little bit more relaxed lately. And I did watch a movie called The Secret, which I talked a little bit about my last podcast. And I really do want to try that. I want to see what life's like if I just ask for things, see if they come, if I focus on what I want, not what I don't want. So if I remember, we'll see how that works. Oh, so one funny thing that happened with what I call zombie alarms is I've been working on fixing a zombie alarm, which a zombie alarm is I had some problems with my successalarm.com that was just generating a lot of alarms, and I think I fixed it. And the problem had to do with the way I was creating a repetitive alarm. So I have an alarm that will repeat every hour. And the way it worked before is that when there would be a date time on an alarm, and when that date was less than the current date, it would then trigger the sending of a email. Now the way it worked is it would find the alarm and it would delete it and then insert a new version of it. So it looked like somehow the deletions weren't working. So I would instead of deleting the alarm, it would insert a new one and not delete it. So now I'd have two. And then those two would get set off, and then I'd have four, and then 8, then 16. And so as you see, caused problems. So I worked on it this weekend to fix it. And I came up with an idea, instead of deleting and inserting, that I would just update the alarm. The alarm expired. I'll just update the date time to the new version, and that should work fine. And it did, except for there was a problem with the alarms that didn't repeat. So last night at 10 p.m., I got like hundreds of alarms in a row. And then I had to just delete the alarm, and it went away eventually. But it really must have rang about 200 times. So I got up this morning early to fix it, and it looked like I fixed it. But I have to write some better code to either not allow this to happen, because what can happen is even the update issue. So an alarm expires, it gets picked up. If it doesn't get updated, like if the update fails, the alarm might still exist and it'll get picked up again and again and again. So I do need some mechanism if this happens to shut down the alarms. I did spend some time also going through my logs, and I noticed that there was a bot called MJ12 bot that was sending me a lot of quests. So I looked up a little bit and figured out how to use a file called .htaccess, and I think I got rid of it. You can basically not allow it access if you run Apache server, but that's interesting that I don't run Apache, so I'm not sure if I actually fixed it since I'm running IIS. Maybe it also picks that up. So it is possible that I didn't fix it, but I didn't see any requests come in from that particular bot. So one of my thoughts was to be able to, so if this does work, one of the ideas is to update that file whenever I get a bad request. So I get these requests, people trying to hack my website with what's called a SQL injection attack. And if you do have a website and are not familiar with this concept, you do need to understand it, because a lot of hacking is done through this. The basics are anywhere you have input that gets turned into SQL, it's possible for somebody to add characters sometimes, like a single quote, the word or, double quotes, and run additional queries to query your database, to get passwords if you store them on the database. So there's all sorts of things they can do. Funny, I just saw somebody exiting a building, a store, that had the wrong kind of exit signs. So there is a standard for entrance and exit signs. A vertical bar on a door means to pull, and a horizontal bar means to push. And a lot of stores I just saw a bunch of glass stores that didn't have that. I guess it's a little cheaper to not have that. And somebody was struggling to decide whether to push or pull. And so if you ever do see, if you look on doors and see signs, and here's one that was okay. It's so funny. Even though it has its people, a lot of signs will say push or pull. Just a very interesting thing. I'm just going to look at my to-do list from this weekend, see if there's anything interesting on it. So this is one of the things I need to improve with my to-do list, is that it's something that I want to do. I add to my to-do list, and it's up to 71 items, but I don't know if it's the right way. I probably need a better way to prioritize. I do have a way. I could enter the word top in brackets, and that would highlight the item, and then I could filter on the word top. So I'll just go through these. So again, better way to prevent these zombie alarms. And it would even be before a mail is sent out. I have code that sends the mail out. I could put code to check that the alarm was sent recently, or this kind of alarm sent, how many times, and then pause alarms if this happens. So I did take some notes on the train for what I was going to talk about today, so let me just go through that. It was for podcast, it says podcast 42, and again, it is June 11th. 2018. So I did watch the show Billions last night. If you haven't watched it, um, you'll have to skip this part of the podcast because there is some spoiler alerts. And if you want to watch it, it is a good show. I highly recommend it. And it was the season finale last night, and it was very surprising the way it ended. And okay, so I'll put in the notes where you can skip this. But Chuck gets fired. It was a really great scene on how, which was a little confusing, how the attorney, the uh, um, the guy Jock, turned the tables on Chuck, who's the attorney general. Um, and then also interesting was that so Axe also had a big failure where Taylor swiped his business, and the Russian guy Grigor, who's played by John Malkovich, asked to if he could kill Taylor, and Axe thought about it and said no, and then so uh, basically Grigor warned Axe not to mess with Taylor. So in some ways it seems like Axe is better off because he doesn't have this guy Grigor, who seems a very evil Russian billionaire, on his ass. Yeah, so it may have turned out well for Axe, but he did lose money in a big funding, so that's negative. And there was one funny thing they mentioned, something called, and I probably only picked this up, called Sortino, which was something I used to work with when I worked at a hedge fund, and had something to do, it's very similar to what's called the Sharpe ratio, where Sharpe ratio is measuring your return versus your divided by the volatility to show your return in a risk-adjusted manner. And I think the Sortino just looks at the downside volatility. So any upside volatility is okay. So if your fund makes 50% one day, that's fine, and it's allowed. It kind of makes sense. But I just thought it was interesting. Nobody picked it up. I was considering updating the Wikipedia page since it was missing from there. So in terms of my weight, I've been on this XL diet, and it's been tough. I mean, this whole getting below 170 has been very tough. I've been struggling. I'm almost 4 pounds behind my goal, which is, it's not horrible, but it's not where I wanted to be. I just have to work on it more, I guess. And again, always the thing that I can keep in mind, and I have to do focus on this, is that I need to lose a seventh of a pound a day. And as long as I'm losing a little bit more than that, I will catch up. As long as my trend's going down, I'm okay. So I'm going to stick with it. My goal is to get down to below 165. And then after I reach that, I'll see if I want to continue. And one of the beauties of this, I don't know if it's a beauty, is that the method to lose weight is the same as to maintain weight. So right now I weigh myself every day. I'll do that. I'll enter into a chart. And then the only difference is that since I want to be below 165, I'll look at my biggest daily gain, and that'll be my goal. So if I'm below 165, that's not enough, because I can easily gain weight and go higher. So a couple of plans today is to eat a little less. I'm going to try to walk both ways. I'm doing the morning one right now. And then I'll try to do the evening walk, and try to eat low carb. It was a little tough because this past weekend, because, and again, it's easy to make excuses. We did a number of things. On Friday, we were at a Shiva call, which is for Jewish people passed away. There's a week you visit. I was very good there. I didn't eat any of the junk, just ate proteins, turkey and cheese, and some nuts. And then after that, we went out for dinner. We didn't go out for dinner. We went over my wife's friend's house, and there was pizza, and I just came to the pizza. Um, it was tough. I mean, all in all, I have to congratulate myself for skipping a lot of the bad foods. And then on the next day, my son's girlfriend was over this weekend, and we went out for Japanese food and um, had some more carbs there. Some of the sushi, I guess, has some carbs, but again, not that bad. So for work, um, today at work, the good news is that the boss is away, and it was a little tempting, he's off, to work from home. But I didn't do it. I didn't know, I didn't have a good reason, so I didn't do it. I guess I'm always afraid that there could be methods, there definitely are methods that could detect how many days you're home when you work from home. So there's something about it I like working from home, but I don't want it to be a negative on my job. And also I have a lot of automation to do today. So I'm going to continue to automate all the things I normally do and continue to, oi, stepped in whenever you hear that oi, I'm stepping in a hole that I didn't see. So in terms of the automation, a lot of things to automate and to save time, get my job done quicker. I do need to focus. I said that from 9 to 10 I would focus on my boss's project. So that's going to be hard, but I have to do it. Not something I really want to do, but I've decided to spend an hour or the morning doing it. I don't know, it's just, I want to do fun stuff in the morning, we'll see. That's one of the reasons I would like this random alarm. So I basically would do 1 hour of the boss's work randomly, and then 1 hour it'll come up during my work day and I'll work on it. The other thing I could do possibly is while I'm waiting, I could have one task. So I do have something to get out, so that's probably my top priority. I have to get out a file and a report. So I have to do some what's called a review. So that's my number one thing to do. And then just in terms of fun, I have plans with a friend of mine this Thursday in the city. Part of me likes having plans in the city, but then trying to lose weight, it is counter to what I need to do, because going out, one of probably the key things about weight loss is alcohol. So if you can control your alcohol, which I didn't do, it's much easier to control what you eat. If you can't control alcohol, then it's just much harder. So I'm at 14th Street and 14th Street and Washington Street right now. A lot of construction going on right by the High Line. I'll be on the High Line in about 20 seconds. Seem to be filming something here. Some kind of filming is going on. Okay, so so there's a positive of the plans and a negative of drinking too much or whatever. Um, and now I'm thinking about, I had this networking group called OWM, which stood for, or stands for right now, Old White Males. And I'm not sure I could do on Thursday, I could pick it up and invite people, but I'm not sure. Too much work. I tried it 3 times, and they say 3 strikes and you're out. So I talked before about the hackers. So again, if you do have a website, you do have to look up SQL injection attack. I'll put some links to it. Unfortunately, it's hard to know that somebody did it. My software is written to kind of detect it. But one thing I noticed there's like a common string that you get from web browsers. And I was noticing that it was empty when these SQL injection attacks were coming in. So that could be one way to check to find them. There are other ways to find them. And through those methods, I want to, if the code works with this .htaccess file, I want to detect it and then just add it to the file automatically. There's this couple of birds taking a bath, really cute. It's a cute little bench and waterfall thing here. Aw, birdies. I do like birds. When I was younger, a girlfriend of mine had a parakeet, and it was very cute. It really liked me. It knew who I was, or seemed to, and spoke probably 100 different words. A little parakeet, cute. Hard to understand though. So I watched a Periscope by Scott Adams today, this morning, and he was saying something about how nobody understands the trade deals. And I just did a little research, and it didn't seem like it was that difficult to find information on it. And now I don't know if it's true, but according to the website, it seems like we have a trade surplus with Canada if you include the services we do. If we don't include services, then we don't. So, maybe he's right. I don't know if I know the answer, but I think on milk there's a very high tax for milk going to Canada. So Scott Adams was funny, but I don't know if I agree with him. He just kept stressing the point that nobody knows. Trump doesn't know. These people, come on, nobody knows. It's a little ridiculous. How could you not know? I mean, it's just a bunch of numbers in a spreadsheet. So in terms of finances, I actually had a task to go through my finances, and I did. And it was nice to find that I'm worth over $1 million. Not bragging or anything, but just is what it is. And then I was thinking that even though I haven't gained a lot, I would be worth much more had I invested in the stock market. I'm pretty heavily in cash. And out of all my assets, I have less than 5% in this hedge fund kind of investment. And I do also want to put some money into cryptocurrencies and some in survival things. So that could be survival food, survival weapons, just in case something really hits the shit really hits the fan. And I think I have about 12,000 budgeted for that. So my whole theory, and again, it would be great if I could test this, was that you should balance your assets. Um, and then every so often rebalance them. So between cash, stock, um, bonds, commodities. So if one asset drops too much, and one goes up as a percentage, you want to keep it balanced in some way. And that balance over time would probably give you very low downside and nice returns because you're always investing in bad assets or lower priced assets. So you want to buy assets when they're low, and that by allocating and investing. So, and I've come up with the idea that I've never heard anybody say, um, that you can look at cash as something, but if you look at cash versus stock market prices, if you in cash and the market prices go up, then your cash is worth much less. You can't buy as much stock, and if stock prices go down, then the cash is worth more. And those are the two times you want to take money out of stocks and put it into cash. And then the other time you want to take money out of cash and put it into stocks. And so just the way of looking at it is differently, that the cash is really, even though it stays the same, it can inflate in value if other assets go down relative to it, or it could go down in value if so if Bitcoin is going up, then your cash is worth less. You can't buy as many Bitcoins, and with Bitcoin also. So there are people who say you should at least have 1% of your portfolio in cryptocurrencies, which sounds like probably a good idea since it is a different asset class. And again, assuming that's going to go down to zero, it's not going to kill you. But at least if there's upside, if this does become the big thing, and so even within the cryptos, it probably pays to not put all your coins in one basket. And it would be nice if you could, nice if you could just buy a stock fund that invested in cryptocurrencies at a very low cost. So, and it includes for gold and oil. So whatever you're doing, you want to, if the price of oil skyrockets or the price of some commodity, you want to be a part of that. And then you might want to have some money in the top companies because they always seem to do well. And then I also allocated, I just thought an allocation's needed for if the shit does hit the fan, so that would be way out of the money options in case something really went wrong, and then at least you can make some money or hedge yourself a little bit. But there's a cost to that. Then there was another thought of how do I have a very high percentage of my net value in real estate, just the value of my home. And I have a feeling that home prices are going to come down because it appears that interest rates are going up, and interest rates and home prices as interest rates go up, home prices should come down because you just can't afford the payments anymore, right? At a 1% interest rate, you can buy a nice house, but at a 10, 15% interest rate, you're going to need a lot of cash to buy the house. So the prices should come down. So I feel like we're in a very low interest rate period, which has inflated prices. So it'd be nice to somehow hedge that. And how do you hedge your real estate? Maybe there's a need for a real estate hedge. That you hedge your real estate and then somebody else buys on the appreciation. So have some sort of way to bet on it. The way I thought was to do shorting RETSs, real estate trusts. So there's a whole bunch of them. I don't know that much about them, but if you short them, you could have a problem if they go up and then your house goes down. So you'd have to find a way that they're correlated very closely, that your house price and the REIT you're buying are very well correlated. Um, and just some general thoughts. There's probably a lot of REITs that are going to lose money due to, it seems like a lot of stores are closing, a lot of these malls. Um, just people can't afford to open a store with the high rents and the problem of Amazon, who can have a low price. Look, it put bookstores out of business, uh, put music out of business, or other things put music stores out of business. So those are two groups of stores that are no longer with us. I mean, it seems restaurants are immune to this, but people have more options in eating. You can order food, have somebody make you food, have the food delivered to you very easily. So I'm going to go through just one news story. So tomorrow, June 12th, President Donald Trump is supposed to meet with Kim Jong-un, KJU is my acronym for him, and they're going to see if they can, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but in theory, denuclearize North Korea. So in the last couple of years, North Korea's been building nuclear missiles. They've supposedly built a hydrogen bomb, and I'm not sure why. And there's a lot of threats on Twitter. I guess in the years forward, people won't know what Twitter is. But so there were these threats on Twitter, and I think Kim Jong-un called Trump a dotard, and Trump had a very funny tweet, I thought, called him Rocket Man. But anyway, they're meeting, and maybe we'll have a peace treaty, which would be nice. I mean, it's not something I can count on, but it does worry me a little bit that if something does happen, and you want to get out of New York City, uh, I guess you could always just stay put. But if you want to get out of New York City, how do you do it? The roads will be in shambles. So I wanted to do a little studying on a boat. Like, how can you get a boat to get you where you want to go? Obviously, if it's in the winter, that's very dangerous since it's cold, and uh, this happens in the winter. So heading south would probably be the ideal thing, or better yet, to not live. And I've always said this, why do people live next to a volcano? And in theory, you shouldn't really live in a place that can be attacked by nuclear weapons or is a likely target or by terrorists. So it's one of those things you just don't expect it to happen. Or we feel safe when we're in some place. I've been here for 58 years in New York City area. And, actually has been things, but nothing so big. It seems to recover. Just one other thing I did over the weekend was I was trying to figure out, prioritize ways to make money. And it was much less than I thought. I mean, I thought I could make money writing a book, but that hasn't worked out well. I mean, I don't know if even I've sold one. So, and just what I hear, most people do not sell a lot of books. It's unusual to sell a lot of books, so it's kind of a false, not a false goal, but a very misleading way of making money. So I thought more likely doing something with Excel would have better chances, but even that, it will be difficult. So I'm going to give it a shot. I think the Excel one is the best. It has, on the downside, it's not something that excites me enough. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so enough of that. I'm going to go through the book that's not going to make me money, which is the exact opposite of what I learned in The Secret. So I should be thinking that the book will make me money, that it will be successful. I mean, something about The Secret does ring true to me, and that is if you think something positive happens, and I always use the parking spot analogy. Like if you think you're going to get a parking spot in Manhattan, you'll get one. And if you think you won't get one. Because you give up too soon. So if I think the book can be a success, or will be a success, I just got to find ways to make it that. And it could be that I work on it a bit more, I get an editor, I put some money into it. There are all sorts of ways to make it more of a success than it is. So one of the next items I've gone through my list of chapters, and this one is you have clear goals. That does seem to be important, and again, I always feel my goals could be clearer. One thing I think would be a great idea is to hang them up somewhere. Not only hang them up, but read them every morning. Spend time reading what your goals are. Make sure they're clear. And the other one is when you do things, ask yourself, is this one of my goals? So somehow, it's an annoyance of that the phone has is that I tried to click something and it went into a Wi-Fi network that it picked up, which I don't really want to use. So I have to, oh, here we go, we're back again. Sometimes I have to turn off my Wi-Fi and then I'll go home where I want to turn it on, and I'll forget to turn it on and then be getting charged for all the data time that would have been Wi-Fi. And again, I walk by this L'Oreal building, nice escalator. Get a feeling there's something to do in there. I don't know if you go up the escalator and it's hard to tell, but a lot of people heading there. Oh, come on. Okay. So the question I wrote, do you have clear goals, is the title. And my answer I have is no. And then question is, what are my goals? So the goals I have listed are finish a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. I mean, I've listened to it a few times. Seems like there's a lot of things to do if I was to sum it up. And it's similar to The Secret. It's use your imagination. Visualize things you want. It is the same thing. So I got to finish reading through it and implement it. I got a lot of books I want to go through. So it'd be nice to prioritize them, which is one of my things I want to do, is improve my prioritizing skills. The next one is get an EE at work, which is just a rating of exceeds expectations. Now that June is over, about half the year is over, I mean, part of me doesn't care. It's kind of doesn't seem like it's in my grasp. I did have this idea, and how to get an EE or the top rating. So the first couple things we need to know what you're being rated on, and you have to have that as a habit to do those things. If you don't, then you're going to be hard. It's going to be very hard to get that exceeds expectations. The other idea was to, for each task, rate myself and then write down what does a person do to get the various reviews. Like, what do you do if I'm working on automation? What would be considered an exceeds? And I could even review these tasks with my boss. So I did talk about good talk, and I need to start doing what I said. I stopped for a second because I'm trying to get across 34th Street and 10th Avenue, and I have 7 seconds left. 2, 1, and 0. Next one is have more fun at work. Again, these are very hard. What is fun? I don't even know what fun is. I do know when I don't like something. So more fun at work might be going out for lunch and juggling, having more friends. Another one I have is get more followers on Periscope. Again, that's just very hard. I mean, I guess since I'm not doing that many Periscopes anymore, it would be get more people to listen to my podcast. The next one is have my own business that allows me to do what I enjoy and not have to work. I don't know if there's such a thing. The only way you really could get that is if you're wealthy, and even then you'll find reasons to want to make more money. There is a book I want to read called Happy for No Reason at All, and that was the reason I watched The Secret, was because the author was part of The Secret, and then I saw her. I don't remember her name. And then next one is what do I enjoy / retire. I mean, I could start thinking about retirement. I guess the question is, what if I had enough money to retire on? Unfortunately, I have 2 kids in college right now. It's not that easy. So working is something that I will have to do as long as they're in college. And at some point, so one of the things that bothered me was not getting a raise this past year. And there are probably a number of reasons for that. And if I want to get a raise, it's just going to take a lot of effort. And I would wonder even if, I mean, I do need to have that conversation, why I didn't get a raise, what I need to do to get a raise. Is it even possible for me to get a raise? Or is this whole diversity bullshit? There's a few issues, I think, in terms of raise and promotion that I have a problem with. One is diversity is big, and it wouldn't surprise me if them giving out raises is just, at least to males, white males, is something of the past. I mean, I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong, but it feels like that. The other one is that I just make more money than my boss, which is possible. He works in a non-New York state, and they probably make less money there. That's another one. Third is if I want a promotion, which doesn't make me feel great that I have a lower title than a lot of people, that I'm either smarter than, do more than, at least in my mind. This could be because I'm a male, and it could be for any number of reasons. One of them being my boss right now has, I mean, it's just odd that they hired this guy recently and they gave him a shitty title. And the only thing I can conclude is if you're a man, they're going to try to keep you at a vice president title so they can somehow falsely say that they have so many females at director positions and males at VP positions. Now, I'm not sure where this whole diversity comes from. I mean, even the thought that they want to measure, they want to base bonuses on how diverse your workforce is. I don't know if that's true in my company, but it could be. So anyway. The other one is automate stuff I don't like doing. So once I automate it, I, in theory, don't have to do it again, but that's not the truth. A lot of times, you can automate something and it breaks. And so, I don't know, that could be more frustrating that I want it to work and it doesn't. Okay, so next one is a process to make sure my report could be generated even if I'm on vacation. So that I was working on this a little bit, and that was to have my code kind of document the process of what it has to do, which I thought was an interesting idea. I started working on it and need a little bit more work on that, but that could be something that's a really cool idea. I automate it and then I generate documentation that's kind of manual but tells people how to do what they need to do. The other idea is that I have my laptop, and my laptop basically would run the code, or just very easy to run. But I still have a key. In other words, you can only run it. So that's an interesting thing, that if I develop automated software, I need to have some sort of key that only allows it to run when I'm around. I'm not sure what that key is yet, but so if I'm not around, it just doesn't run as well, or it takes longer, or it just has more bugs. The only problem with it would have to be in the code, and somebody could see this pretty easily. Could be considered some sort of fraud or something else. Okay, so next one I have. Oh. is people want, solve a problem people want. And I did get this from a speaker, don't recall his name, but I believe he created the Wix, or one of these websites that allow you to create websites. Oh, here, it says here. I got this from David Rushenko, who is the founder of and CEO of Weebly. Okay, so Weebly. I like to solve my own problems. That way, if nobody wants it, at least I do. Which is it's an interesting concept. To always try and solve your own problems, and then if it's useful, maybe you could turn that into a business. So at least you have use of it. Again, this is the one down thing for doing an Excel class. It doesn't, I don't know how much it'll help me. Possibly if it's a company, it could be, oh, we train and we can do consulting for you. So for any business idea you're considering, what problem does it solve? Once you can frame the problem, you can figure out if people also want the solution, and more importantly, will give you the hard-earned cash for it. When David Rushenko says people, he also means companies. So I would say most of the things I want, people want. And this is also hard to quantify. How do you know? One problem with any of my ideas is maybe nobody heard of it, nobody knows what it is. So it's something to consider. So the real question is, what do people want? And that's a good thing to write down. And then even better is, what do people want that only I have the ability to make for them? Okay, next one. At the beginning of the week, figure out how much time to spend on different activities. Then track to see how close you come to it. So basically today's Monday. I was going to say I probably should do this. And the thing to do is write down what I want to do this week. I could break it down by day. I can use a spreadsheet, and then at some point see how well I did against my plan. It doesn't seem so difficult. Okay, so if I remember to do it, the first thing I will do when I get in on Monday, which is very soon, is do this plan for the week. And as a matter of fact, I'll put an alarm in right now. So I go to success alarm, set alarm, and then it's almost 9 now, so I'll say 9, I'll say 10, I'll say 9:30, 9:30 a.m. I'll write plan week. And I'll add KP 4S. And then that's it, no repeat. Submit. And it tells me they're in. So I should get an alarm at 9:15, 9:30, reminding me to do these things. And it seems like it would work. And then I'm going to have to put one in on Friday to see if it worked. Now crossing 8th Avenue. on 42nd Street. And I'm going to sign off very soon. Again, I haven't yet come up with a good sign off, but I'm going to right now pause this and then give you my best one. And this is Al Berg in Manhattan without Lola saying, make a habit to make good habits. And how about make it a habit to create good habits? Take care.